What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of What Would Tony Do? Here on this channel, my hope is to bring you guys along as I work through a whole wide array of woodworking projects and show you guys my thought process on how I get there, as well as some of the failures I made and where my ideas didn't work. This is my first YouTube episode, so I've also spent a lot of energy learning about just how to actually film yourself doing a project, which is an art in and of itself. Let's cut upstairs so you guys can see the project we're going to work through this time. Alright, so the first project we're going to make is this leash board. So I actually was making this for Erica for Christmas. I missed the deadline by just a month or two. But I did finally wrap up the project, and as you can see, we have a larger than normal quantity of animals in our house, so we really needed a custom leash board. I'm actually somewhere on this screen. I'm going to link you to for Christmas. We actually got the first white Christmas in a long time, so did a little video, and it's a great way to meet the whole family if you want to see all of the dogs that represent all these leashes. And on the end, we are a foster household, so we pretty regularly have a foster dog in the house. So Eric asked that I add an additional peg on the end, so we always have a place to store foster leashes. Alright, well, let's dive into the project and show you how I built it. Alright, as I wrapped up milling the boards, what you don't see is I, in my vast intelligence, thought I would be able to do this with nothing but packing tape. So what I've done at this point is wrap the bottom of the board with packing tape. I did burnish it down, try to make sure it was a nice tight fit. So what I'm going to do now is mix up the epoxy. This is my first time using it. I chose Eco epoxy, mainly because I could get it at my local hardware store. I'll save everybody all the mixing time, but after mixing, I did the pour. Pouring's a lot of fun. Makes you feel like you're making progress. And at this point, I learned just how much like water uncured epoxy is. It's very viscous, which makes it pour really nice. But almost immediately, I can tell that my table isn't quite level. So now I quickly try to find things to make the whole surface level. As you can see, I'm scrambling with whatever crap I have on the table. With what I expect to be a great setup, I go to bed and wake up to the following. If the lack of progress wasn't enough, I learned my lesson because I had to use acetone to clean epoxy off of my floor. I take to YouTube and find a bunch of good content. John Malicki, whose channel's listed below, showed using Tyvek tape, which I'm able to get locally at my big box store. So I head over there to grab some Tyvek tape and put this jig together and re-pour it. Wake up the next morning and lo and behold, no leakage. So I think everything's in a good place. Except what I didn't realize is that all of the glitter actually settled to what I wanted to be the back, which was the bottom. So I really needed to pour it upside down because the glitter would just settle. Otherwise, it turned out pretty well. Now I just need to deal with these 4 holes. Alright, so we're going to revisit this project. So, this got put on hold for, get back to it. I actually want to finish it. I think I have a solution. I was trying to figure out how to put letters on this. So what I did is I went online using like Google fonts in this case, hunted for like a big bold font that I think might look good cut out in metal. And we're going to try cutting some out. And then I'm just going to put a magnet in. I can just slap the letter on. It provides me a lot of flexibility. So if I screw the letters up, which I think is going to be one of my weak points, the good news is I'm not actually going to have the issue that it screws up the board. I'm going to take a stab at how this lays out. So I want to cover that hole. I want to stagger them a little bit. P. Polaris. Yorick. Nanook. Theo. And Foster. So we need to get a little bit closer. They're just nothing fancy. This is one of the beauties of this being kind of rough sawn, open lumber, cracks in it is that these things don't have to line up perfect, right? I'm going for a little bit of a stagger because I want to stagger my posts on the bottom. I think that works. I'm actually pretty happy. I think this letter size is good. Mostly what I was doing to see if I need to go back to the computer and print letters out bigger or smaller, because I just took some guesses based off of a photo and some measurements. So let's take a minute. Let's reconfigure. Let's pull out a chunk of sheet metal, and we're going to see if we can make these letters. Alright, so that's pretty subpar, but let's see if we can clean it up. Alright, so time for take two. So one of the things that I learned while using this tool is while I think this would have looked good, come on autofocus. There we go. So while I think this would have looked good, what I learned is that those notches are going to be hard to get. So while I don't think this letter looks as good, when we look at like me trying to get into this, at least in my current skill level, I don't have a lot of confidence I'm going to be able to hit these notches. So I went with a font that's flatter. I'm hoping what this is going to do is allow me to get it right the first time. You can see this is just hardboard, but what I did is I just super glued a chunk of metal on the back. What that does is that's going to allow me to still use my idea of magnets, which was the original idea why I wanted to make them out of metal, so they can be removed or changed, rearranged, just a more reusable idea than actually engraving the board. Hopefully this works well. So, let's do a quick layout. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a awl, or a punch, and so I'm just going to punch right here. This is just so I have a mark, and we can see that's right where I want the magnet to be.
Alright, so it looks like this small drill bit's going to do it. We're going to run a test bore just to make sure. Alright, so that actually looked really good. It's almost exactly flush. It's just slightly recessed, which is actually going to work out really well for us because we're going to put some glue in, and the glue is going to bring it up just a hair when we glue it in. So it should be nice and flush when we're done. So now what we're going to do is drill all those holes. So back over at the main bench. So I ordered some of these. It should make for a good hook. And it's got a threaded back. So really all I need to do is make a hole for these guys. So the good news is I can use that same hole on the back. So the way we do this is we are going to put this here, line it up, take a good stab at square. Then we're going to move down. So I want to be just below this line. Alright, so I don't want to change my drill press out because it's already set up for the same head I want to use. And I'm going to match the depth. So there's a lot of value in not changing. So we can see it's nice and clean on the back, and we have a good looking hook on the front. Should be great for our uses. Alright, so I've got 2P10 thick and the accelerator. Should make this go real fast. how she looks. This is our tree, which of course gets super messy. And then when you're going to trying to find the equipment for a single dog, it usually doesn't work. And then you have to take half the world apart, which is what I'm doing right now. Well guys, this is a fun project that I think I'm going to use almost every day. I really appreciate all of you who have made it to this point in the video. I know it was a longer video than I meant. And if you happen to be a content creator, have your own YouTube channel or any other platform, I wanted to say I have the utmost respect for you. Having done this first project of mine, there's a lot of effort that goes into both trying to make the project as well as trying to make the video, and it's a pretty unique skill. Thanks everybody, and I look forward to seeing you guys back on my channel.